Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada, we love you. In Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful May the 13th, 2019, Grando Deportes. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, I'm tired and hungry, just got off a plane. Have you tried the food on the plane lately?
not cooking on the plane, but eating on the plane, yeah.
Okay, because they don't serve any. So they make you starve on the plane. They give you like 4 ounces of soda and say, hey, you need anything else? Toss you a bag of dry peanuts. I'm like, I eat real food, okay? Give me something that has 4 legs on it.
Yeah, something that has 4 legs on it. And sometimes that's not just a car, Big C, for you good old boys down south. I want to say it's all great in the sports universe. A lot of good things happening in the world of sports and entertainment. Some great basketball games over the weekend. I love Game 7s, and it's just amazing when you see players put it on the line. We know baseball still swinging the bat. NHL hockey skating around on some thin ice, Big C, but we want to say this segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. So Big C, on the airplane, did they give you peanuts? Usually they give you some peanuts. They used to serve a nice gourmet meal back in the day, but I think now they've made so much money in profits, they decided to keep the profits and give peanuts. Big C, your thoughts?
That's all it is peanuts that you give. I wish I had flown over to Beijing, China, Charlton. I was sitting up this weekend watching the World Curling Championships over in Beijing, China, where the 2020 Winter Olympics is going to be, and I watched the Canadian men's, curling team take the gold medal, and the team from Beijing, the Chinese gentlemen, They won the silver. I mean, it was a great match, and I know you don't know anything about what goes on ice. So I'm not going to hold that against you, because in California, there's very little ice out there.
No, we use ice to freeze food.
You sit there and you watch the strategicness of these curling events, Charlton. I mean, the Canadian team won it 5-2.
Yeah.
But just excellent match play. Being able to move those 16-pound stones across that ice was so great. So I know most Americans have played shuffleboard in a bar with some cornmeal on a little wooden table, shoot some little, metal disc down. But it's a whole different game. And to sit back and appreciate the strategy that goes into it, it's almost like chess on ice, Charlton.
Yeah, and I think chess on ice is very appropriately named. And I know that you travel all over the world. In fact, you travel all over the universe. You kind of like Captain Kirk, go, what do they say? To boldly go where no man has
gone before. And I've done that a couple times too.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that Big C actually had a cameo appearance in the Star Trek, one of the Star Trek series with the great late Gene Roddenberry. What a great story, science fiction. Would you believe, talking about flying, there's a group out there called flyfortheculture.org, and just over 2.5% of flight attendants and pilots are African Americans, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And there's a pilot by the name of Jerome Stanislaus. He's part of the flyfortheculture.org, a nonprofit. They support the inclusion for pilots in aviation. It was a story done by Michelle Miller from CBS News. And I think about the movie Red Tails, how it chronicled the pilots from Tuskegee Airmen, how so many African American pilots have helped keep this country safe. And there's a lot more that are flying around the country, Big C. But you tell me they only get served peanuts on planes to passengers, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, if you're lucky, you might get a bag of pretzels.
Yes.
And I've been fortunate enough to fly on one of those flights, Charlton. I was on an Alaskan airline flight one time.
Yeah.
And the entire flight crew was African American. The pilot, the co-pilot, all of the flight attendants. It was the first time in my life of flying, Charlton, that I've seen so many African Americans in charge of white people in the air.
Yeah.
So when you talk about having wings, you were praying to a black guy at that time.
Yeah, that is very true. And I just, as a young boy, and we talk about Star Trek, and we see how it was integrated And for most people, when they get on a plane, I know some friends of mine that are actually from Africa, and they rarely see pilots that are not African, that are not black on flying airlines. So in the United States, I think the United States is only 4% of the world's population. So a lot of times, if we don't get outside of our own country, we might think that nothing was created by anybody that wasn't Caucasian. But flyfortheculture.org, I think that's excellent for young pilots who want to get into aviation. And one more thing I want to bring to your attention, Big C. I know you've known many people who've run airports over the years, from SkyCaptain services to pilots. Do you feel that that's an unseen business that many African Americans have actually run and prospered very well from? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, being in the airline industry, when you talk about pilots, and it's not about non-inclusion in that, it's about education.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at young African Americans, what are they aspiring to be? I mean, you know, the networks show nothing but athletes nowadays.
Yeah, right.
So young African Americans are always aspiring to be athletes. They don't show the cultural stories and the makeup and the composite of this great nation, Jonathan, that many African Americans were the foundation for.
Yeah.
When you talked about the Tuskegee Airmen, you don't see shows with black pilots on them, Charlton, whether they're flying crop dusters, whether they're flying fighter jets,
that's true,
or even commercial airliners. I mean, we will see Top Gun, we see Tom Cruise flying.
Yeah.
We don't see a black pilot flying. We see any other movie, Charlton. We see a helicopter pilot.
Yeah.
We see The Rock flying a helicopter.
Yeah.
We don't see black pilots doing anything. So as a young African American growing up, and you look for inspiration and leadership and guidance, all you see is athletes for the mainstay. And you see some entertainment as far as, you know, musicians out there.
Yeah.
We really don't see the big screen actors as far as young African Americans. So for them to see pilots and aspire to be pilots, Charlton, most young African Americans don't fly, especially if you're in the inner city.
Yeah.
You don't have the opportunity to get on a plane, so it's out of your reach in your stratosphere. So when you think of these young men and young ladies, Charlton, having an opportunity to do something, they do what they can reach out and touch, and that's generally athletics and music.
Yeah, athletics and music, and it's ironic. My father worked in aviation, and he's been on fighter jets and also worked on repairing the engines for fighter jets. I remember him telling me about the SR-71, which is still military secret, how it could fly from East Coast to West Coast in about an hour. That means it's flying about 3,000 miles or 2,000 miles per hour or faster, but he would never tell me how fast it could go because that was classified. But even on this day, where we had some great African Americans achieve in sports, and mainstream's only, and I'm just saying to everybody who's listening about what we just talked about, the aviation industry, anyone listening in the universe, for the most part, they will only tell you how dominant African Americans were in sports, how big, strong, and fast somebody is, which is a shame. Over 100 years ago, this is the 100-year anniversary of the passing of Madam C.J. Walker, one of America's earliest black female millionaires. She was the great-granddaughter of some people who were born in some very tough times, and that she amassed millions of dollars when she began working for herself. But first, she used to have to wash clothes for white people. She had to wash dishes for white people in colored-only, establishments for the most part. Or if they were allowed in, they were only allowed in to cook and to clean, but not allowed to own. But with all of those things being told on the great late Madam C.J. Walker, one of America's first millionaires, black woman, she amassed over millions of dollars. She had over 1,000 sales agents, sold insurance, and you're going back into the early 1900s. Yet even to this day, when you see African American women on TV, you really see CEOs, Big C. You see athletes or someone in Hollywood, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, we don't get the black entrepreneurship when we look at television. Even when you see depictions in a lot of these television shows, they're working in jobs as nurses, and that's a marvelous field to be in, Dalton. I mean, they save lives every day. I'm not denigrating that field, but I'm just saying you don't see them as the lead doctor. These are the roles that that blacks don't get an opportunity to be in. They don't get a chance to be the director of a hospital. They're not the police chiefs that we see portrayed on television. And even when you see a corporate boardroom, they may be some in the corporate boardroom, but they're not sitting at the head of the table. They're on the side table or standing in the background. So when we talk about African Americans having an opportunity, America only wants to see athletes as African Americans. That's what they feel that African Americans do better than anything else. is be athletes.
Yeah.
And as we look at these teams that are hiring these coaches, to coach African Americans, when we look at the college programs that coach African Americans, we are seeing white guys who are getting the jobs, not the black guys getting the jobs. For some reason they feel that an African American can play a sport, but they can't teach the sport, which I always had a hard time understanding.
Yeah, and especially, what I love about our show, and everybody has their own flavor of Kool-Aid. So I was watching a program, and it was a gentleman on CNN, and it's Anderson Cooper, and he was interviewing a gentleman who was doing some type of work in artwork in a museum on the East Coast, and he was saying, so what makes you think that people are going to validate your work? And he was talking to a black man. Black men built the White House. The original people on the planet Earth are from Africa, according to Dr. Lee King Gregory Mendel. But Anderson Cooper asked him, what makes you think people are going to validate your work? And he says, I validate my work. I'm not looking for people to validate. I validate it. That's why it exists. And the message is for people of color. We know racism exists. We know discrimination, Jim Crow, all that garbage. And we know we've never been given an advantage over anybody, any group of people. But Madam C.J. Walker took that same knowledge and became a multi-millionaire where she had no rights to vote. There was still Jim Crow, couldn't live where she wanted. But she became a millionaire through the grace of God and hard work, and she learned from business people who gave her an opportunity, and they exist in every culture. Big C, I know we want to see who won the game. I know we want to see how many points can somebody score. But most African Americans are successful not on the athletic fields, it's in mainstream. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they are in mainstream, but they're never going to be in the headline of the news.
Right.
When we look at that, what you see is corporate CEOs. You see the politicians. And you think about the number of African-American and female politicians that are in D.C.
Yeah.
You really don't see them, Charlton. You see the old, aristocratic, established white gentlemen
that
have been politicians for a lifetime that really are not in touch with society.
Yeah.
When we look at the new wave of politicians that were elected, I think we have over 100 women now serving in all branches of Congress, Charlton.
Yeah.
The most ever in history. The most ever African-American women ever serving in all branches of Congress.
Yeah.
And so, but we don't get a chance to see them on these committees, Charlton. These committees are laid for the senior senators that have been there forever. They're the ones laying policy. They're the ones grandstanding. But when you give people an opportunity to succeed in life and not put up barriers, it's like taking the stance saying Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
When that mantra was made up, you get somebody like Rudy Giuliani saying that you're un-American and you're racist for making that statement.
He's
Think
a
about
knucklehead.
it. This is how stupid the president's lawyer is, saying that if you say that Black Lives Matters, it labels you a racist and un-American.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All lives matter.
All lives matter.
But why do blacks have to say that they matter? Why they can't be included in everything? Whenever blacks speak up wanting to have something separate, when the Black Panthers was formed in the 60s, white America sought out to abolish the Black Panthers.
Yeah.
But they never sought out to abolish the Ku Klux Klan. They had been around for decades, a century.
That's true.
Ku Klux Klans ran roughshod over America. The minute the Black Panthers formed to symbolic of black people in America, the FBI labeled them as a threat to American society because blacks wanted sovereignty. And so anytime that blacks seek something of equality, to be recognized as equals, white society has always pictured that as a threat. The death of Martin Luther King came because of that.
Yeah.
He told poor white people that they were no better off than black people at that time.
Yeah.
That's when the FBI really figured that he was a threat because he had white people listening to it.
Yeah.
As long as it was just a black bugle that was blowing, he was okay. But the minute he influenced poor white Americans that they were no better off in the 60s than black Americans were, he became a threat to society.
Yeah.
Because now mainstream had a foe to deal with that looked like them, and they didn't want that.
If we don't have a show like Big C Sports, you won't hear it talked about on other programs because they just program people to think like an athlete. I just want to cover a few more things that were brought to my knowledge that I think is so valuable that everybody should know it. So if you look at what happened with slavery, started in 1619 in Virginia, ended in 1865. It's really ended in 1863, but fully ratified in all states in 1865 by Abraham Lincoln. And we come 155 years ago is when it all ended, Big C. And you look at some of the richest black women in the universe. not just in the United States, but in the universe. And the United States black Americans were held back 400 years. Imagine what could have been accomplished if that did not happen with slavery and then another 100 years of Jim Crow after that was done. We can make a quantum leap as a group of people and a nation by sharing knowledge and sharing the wealth. I'm just going to name a few people, and then we'll get into some sports. But without these women being known, and men too, but I'm going to focus on women right now because of Madam C.J. Walker and what she's done. And while we just got out of, it was Happy Mother's Day for everybody. All the mothers in the universe. Happy Mother's Day from Big C Sports. But when you're a black mother, it's even more of an award. And I say that because white women have never had to come through Jim Crow. They've never had to be enslaved. Not in this country. They never saw their kids sold off. They never saw their husbands lynched by mobs, even law enforcement. And then told to swear to God and, a pledge allegiance to the flag, etc. And if you say, well, we want to fix that, well, you're not American. White women never had to deal with that. It was black women that marched in civil rights. When the doors were open, white women walked in, and they know it's true. Look around right now, your office. You've been made managers. You've been made owners of companies. The banks gave you loans, home loans, car loans, school loans, all kind of loans. Black women had to fight for that, but when they opened up the doors, white ladies walked in. I just want to say a few more things, and I'll get your thoughts, because it's very passionate, and I was educated over the weekend as we talk about Happy Mother's Day. We know about Beyonce, one of the billionaires in this country, did it through music. Also, she does clothing line. She has other streaming services, joint ventures, streaming services with her husband. Also, the Sheila Johnson, we've heard about her from BET, one of the founders. She's part of Salamander Hotel and Resorts in Virginia, worth $760 million. Think about that. And you talk about Isabel Dos Santos, worth $2.3 billion. And much of her wealth came from investments in companies such as Portuguese telecom companies, like cell phones. And she's also formerly head of the Angola State Oil Firm. And it's amazing. We know about Oprah Winfrey, how she rose from poverty to great wealth, worth about $2.5 billion that we know of. And I want to say that one more time because we look at Madam C.J. Walker. This is about 100 years since her passing. If we, as a group of people, with the help of mainstream, can educate people on growing economically and not just getting bigger, stronger, and faster, lifting weights, what will our people become in the next 100 years, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you talk about joint venture. Joint venture is all education.
Yeah.
Education starts at home. If the parents are not engrossing their kids in how to educate and better themselves, other than picking up a ball or picking up a microphone
right,
and saying this is how you're going to make it, the world has always been an oyster, Charlton. It all depends on who wants to shuck it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been, you talk about C.J. Walker. She didn't play basketball.
No.
Oprah Winfrey didn't play football.
No.
Or any of those other women that you talked about, Charlton, didn't play baseball, track and field, swimming, all those things. They used their minds. They learned how to read. They didn't sit there and say, this is the only thing that you can do in life.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's what so many young African Americans have gotten to. Oh, I got to play basketball to get into college. I play football to get into college. I don't want to seek out an academic scholarship. There are more academic scholarships giving out every year than there are athletic scholarships.
Yeah.
But no one goes into the black community and say, hey, go after the academic scholarships. Nor do they hear about that at home from their parents or their grandparents, Charlton,
yeah,
or their friends. They hear about, hey, did you see on SportsCenter? Did you see the dunks? Did you see the home run?
Yeah.
Did you see the touchdown? This is what they're talking about. They're not reading.
No.
They're not doing research about, okay, what scholarship foundations out there that I can apply for to get my education paid for. Because when you look at the limited number of basketball players, they're going to have the draft lottery on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
There are 60 draft slots in the lottery. There's close to 70 underclassmen that have already declared for the draft.
Wow.
So somebody has never taken math. That's what I'm saying about the minority athlete.
Yeah.
Somebody is not taking math to think that that's a segue to get to the next level of life. Because there's going to be a whole lot of disappointed young men that don't get drafted. Then where are their lives going to go? Because their eligibility is done.
Yeah.
They haven't sit there and said, okay, I'm looking to become a partner in a company. I'm looking to become a CEO in a company. Because the longevity in the business world outweighs the longevity in the athletic world.
Oh, by
you might toy in the G League forever as an athlete. Never get a day on an NBA court. But you can live in a corporate boardroom, as you talked about those young ladies that have succeeded in life without athletics, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's how we need to change our thoughts as black people in America. Don't think that athletics is the be-all to be-all. Because who profits and benefits the most from athletics? Not the black athlete. They might become millionaires,
Some.
but they don't profit the most.
No, they
The
don't.
owners do, and all the owners are white, Charlton.
Yeah.
They're the ones profiting off the backs and the sweat of these athletes.
I agree.
And people are like, wow, they're earning a great living. Yes, they are. But think about how great a living that owner has.
Yeah.
When he can write an athlete and say, oh, okay, I'm going to give you a max salary in basketball, which is $220 million.
Yeah.
Not a problem. 7 years, $220 million.
Right.
5 years, $220 million. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And people are like, wow, he got max money. Did they ever think that the owner did not give a damn about paying out
No.
max money?
No.
Because he has the money.
He has the max money.
Everybody who has a job in America, and you go in and you seek a raise, or you get your annual raises, or you get your bonuses, it never hurts the owner of your company when you get that annual raise or the annual bonus. It's built into his bottom line what he expects to spend for that year.
Yeah.
And so those little coins that he gives you at the end of the year, he gives you a $1,000 bonus. Wow, it's great. It's great for the average family.
Right.
But you think about it, if he could give you a $1,000 bonus, he could have easily given you a $10,000 bonus.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to do that because he was greedy. He said, this is all that you deserve. Regardless of how much you made him, this is all you're going to get. And that's the same thing with athletes, John.
Yeah, and I appreciate talking. I learn a lot when I listen to you, and I listen to other of my elders, people who've been around the block, and they've learned some things that don't have to be learned the hard way. I remember Laura Ingraham said, "Shut up and dribble." She wasn't talking to the white owners of sports teams because they've been shutting up, but they've been having their players shut up and dribble for them.
They've been dribbling a long time. Every time
To
they
the
get
bank.
drunk. I mean, every time they get drunk, they're dribbling off their lips. They're
To the
dribbling to the bank. Trying to
Yeah.
figure out, how much
Yeah.
to move into this account.
Yeah.
So there's another tax shelter.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Well, I don't criticize anybody, but people criticize us all the time, so it's all fair and love and war. But I heard Shaq and Barkley, they were talking over the basketball, and they were saying something that was very true. They were saying, I'm rich. When I go to the bank, they call me by my name. I'm rich too. We're all rich. But what they don't do, and they have the money to do it. I mean, Big C Sports is doing it. They could share, like Madam C.J. Walker. How'd you become a multimillionaire outside of the playing basketball? Because that's how most people can make it.
They became multimillionaires within the game.
Yeah.
They've extended themselves beyond the game. But prior to them becoming professional athletes and star professional athletes, you think about the guys who came out of college along with them, John.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks about the success that Shaquille O'Neal has had since he's been a professional athlete and a broadcaster and even in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
You got to realize when Shaquille O'Neal was a freshman at LSU, he was the backup center, okay?
Yeah.
He was not even the best center on his team. Stanley Roberts was the best center on his team. They were both at LSU as true freshmen. Shaq came off the bench. Stanley was the starter.
Yeah.
Stanley was drafted number 7 overall by the LA Clippers. His career went awry. He had a leg injury. All of a sudden, he found alternatives other than dealing with the team medication.
Yeah.
And his career was over, Charlton. In about 5 years, his NBA career was over. Shaq flourished because Shaq had discipline in the home. Shaq talks about that often. The discipline of his mother, the discipline of his stepfather. This is the things that I always reiterate. The discipline that's in the home. Education was put first with his parents. It wasn't done with Stanley Roberts' parents.
Yeah.
Stanley Roberts was looked at as a meal ticket. Shaq grew up in a disciplined military household. That education was first and foremost. All black athletes don't have that, Charles.
That's true.
When you look at Charles Barkley's success, he was very fortunate. He was a first-round draft pick out of Auburn with the Philadelphia 76ers. Had a very illustrious NBA career. Never won a title.
Right.
Sorry about that, Charles.
It's okay.
But, you think about it, and he's better than a lot of guys who have.
Yeah.
But he's been successful off because he's willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
He's willing to vent. You got to think about it. The guys that are on that TNT show, that's their therapy, especially Charles.
Yeah.
It's his therapy to be able to bash other players for doing things that he didn't do.
Right.
But he's become very well off because of the game, Charlton. And he's learned himself in politics and all these other things. But you got to think about it. All of those guys, Kennedy and Ted Smith, all of those guys on that show have college degrees, Charlton.
Yeah.
They have college degrees. They all left college early, but they all have college degrees.
Yeah.
That is the staple of their lives. That's what allows them beyond the game of sports to continue to manifest themselves and gain in society. That's why when he walks into the bank, they say Mr. Barkley, Mr. O'Neal.
Yeah. And I love that. And I love that they did that, but it only lasted for about 10 to 15 seconds. I would love, and we can start it. People always say, if you got a solution, be a solution. Don't just talk about other people. But this is my effort on Big C Sports too. I would like to say being a millionaire for all people, especially men of color and women of color. Madam C.J. Walker just celebrating Mother's Day and seeing how hard my mother's worked behind the scenes, making sure we all went to school, making sure we got our education. We were always told, if the teacher says stand on your head, you better try. Don't make excuses. Don't come home saying you couldn't do it. Just find a way. And I've seen that in my own life. I know Big C Sports is becoming a very popular show, and I just know that because of platforms and people that reach out. But I would hope to be the vanguard, and it's hard to say vanguard because Ollie and Madam C.J. Walker have already passed. But on the air, I would hope that some of our conscious brethren, and I'm asking mainstream to help, like Billy Graham and Dr. King helped each other, let's start reaching out more and teaching people of color how to become business people, like Madam C.J. Walker, from dishwashing and washing somebody's clothes and cleaning their dirty clothes to becoming a multimillionaire as a salesperson of insurance. I know it's possible. We're not all just looking to shut up and dribble. One more thing I want to say about that because I think it's important. I always ask, there's something that we all hear about. It's the great LeBron James. I love what LeBron James has become. I don't know him personally, but I'd love to meet him someday. Is he bigger for the LA Lakers or is he bigger for LeBron Inc.? And this is a story that was done on CBS over the weekend, CBS News. And I think if you think about what he can become once he retires, is the making of a billion-dollar athlete, Big C. I ask every person in the world, in fact, I ask every person in the universe, what would it mean to the legacy of this United States of America and any other country if we taught every young black boy that you're trying to recruit for college, and black girl too, and those that you don't recruit? You teach them how to become an entrepreneur because the schools know how to do it. It makes better work for America. Donald Trump, I know you want to be, make America great again. But if you go back to the people that built the White House, they were black. If you look at the people who made America rich, they were black men who did it with free labor. How about have an endowment started so that we can start creating legacies of endowments in black communities? Not just talking about it, but doing it. It takes people bigger than myself, but at least I have a microphone, and I'm not just talking about shutting up and dribbling. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at young black athletes and they look at LeBron, their word to LeBron was, you're rich.
Yeah.
They don't understand what LeBron did to get rich.
Yeah.
They think that he just dribbled a basketball. They have the Laura Ingraham mentality. That's the problem, Charlton, because they don't educate themselves. If he was to set up an endowment throughout the country, he has his charter school.
Yeah.
But how many of these kids want to go the path of education? We see that every day in the minority community.
We got to change that.
But how do you change it?
By talking about it.
If the parents don't change it, how does the broadcast change it? Think about it. Put some real thought into that.
Yeah.
How does the broadcast change? Because the news has been going on forever. It's been going on that forever. We're not the first broadcast out there. We won't be the last broadcast out there. But we're not the only parents out there. We're not going to be the last parents out there. Who has more influence? A broadcast that you listen to for an hour or two a day, or a parent that you're with every day of the week, Charlton? That's what you got to look at. LeBron and any athlete that is out there in the forefront. And I look at how the media personifies LeBron right now. He's not even in the playoffs.
Right.
His life story is bigger than the playoffs.
It sure is.
That's how much America wants LeBron. Just like Tiger, they want a black athlete that they can pick on and hang on to.
Yeah.
That's what LeBron has symbolized to white America, because white America is the media that broadcasts every day. When you sit up and you watch the television show, CBS is not owned by a black broadcasting company, Charlton.
No.
It's not. But they knew that talking about LeBron brings them ratings.
Yes.
That's what they do. So let's talk about LeBron. We got the NBA playoffs going on. Let's talk about LeBron. Is it bigger for LeBron to be his own brand, or is it bigger for the Lakers to have LeBron there? LeBron don't give a damn about the Lakers. Let's be honest about it. He don't give a damn about the Lakers.
Right.
And everybody who thinks that LeBron cares about the Lakers, LeBron cares about playing basketball.
Yeah.
He's going to play basketball wherever he's been, okay?
Yeah.
He's been with 3 NBA teams, one of them twice. So you can't say that LeBron is loyal. LeBron's got 3 championship rings. He's been to the finals 8 consecutive years. You can't say that LeBron is concerned about basketball, that it's the main thing in his life. Everybody talks about what LeBron does on television. And that's what bothers the media, is that LeBron is a corporate man.
He's
a corporate black man, and that's what bothers the media more than anything else about LeBron, is that he's a corporate man and they cannot control him. They do not dictate the narrative on LeBron. That bothers people.
Yeah.
You think about it. He's been talked about all week long. When was the last time LeBron played a basketball game?
Oh, many moons.
It's been over a month ago.
Yeah.
Since the last time he played a basketball game, 14. But you would think that he's going to be in one of these conference final series.
Yeah.
As much as he's talked about on all the sports shows. And everybody said, well, he should have had a say-so in who the Lakers hired. LeBron don't give a damn who the Lakers hired. He's going to go out and play basketball.
He's going to play no matter what.
He's hired to play basketball. He's going to put his input in because the power, he's the alpha male when they come to the sideline, when they're in the huddle, when they're in the game, when they're in the practice.
Yeah.
LeBron is the alpha male. It doesn't make any difference who the coach is. That's all for the media. The coach is the media's puppet. LeBron don't care. He's going to go out there and get his 28, 8, and 7 every night, regardless of who's coaching.
Yeah.
He does that. He's a professional basketball player. He is a professional man of leisure. He's a professional corporate man. And that's what the media has a hard time with him dealing with, because they can't get into LeBron's corporate world. They can only control his media when it deals with basketball. But when you ask these guys to talk about LeBron's corporate entity, they won't talk about that. They want to keep LeBron shackled as an athlete. LeBron said, I don't give a damn about what you guys think.
Well,
I am me.
Well, that's why I say God created Big C Sports, because we will talk about it, and I reach out to my brethren, black and white, and ask, can we do that? Can we at least focus on that? Ali did it, and I know it drips off because I have a lot of his influence in me. I do want to take what's called the Big C pause. We're going to come up on the Big C pause, and we'll come back, and I just want to get some thoughts to one of America's greatest, actresses, and how much she's meant to this country, and we'll do that in just a moment after we come back from the break. All right, Big C, we are back from the Big C pause. I'm so passionate about talking about sports and entertainment and politics, because it's only for smart people. If you're just an ignorant person, then just drink that beer and only watch who won the game. I do want to give our thoughts and prayers to a great life. And I sing this song all the time in my mind. Here I am, an African-American man, paying homage to the late Doris Day, passed away at 97 years old in Carmel, California. She had won 4 Golden Globes, and she received 1 Presidential Medal of Freedom. She sang a song that's known all over the world. It's called Que Sera, 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 whatever will be, will be. The future is ours to see. In Que Sera, Sera. I mean, if you can think about that as a little boy, and she hasn't acted since the 70s, I believe, Big C, but I know she's acted with some great men, some late actors that have passed on. But I just want to get your thoughts on the passing of Doris Day, how great of a life she lived, with the 4 Golden Globes and 1 Presidential Medal of Freedom. And as a woman who is Caucasian, she was also admired by many people of color all over the world. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, she grew up in a time and worked in an era where mainstream Hollywood was white.
Yeah.
And so everybody watched the same shows, regardless of ethnicity. This is what you had an opportunity to see, whether it was on television or whether it was in the big screen.
Yeah.
And she was one of those ladies, Charlton, that was always there. She was a great actress during her time and her era. And I would also like to say a melancholy trail to another actress who lost her life over the weekend, Peggy Lipton. Peggy Lipton was one of those actresses in the 70s that helped integrate television. She was part of a TV series called The Mod Squad.
I remember that.
Where, you had
3
links. Undercover detectives. You had a female.
Yeah.
You had a white male, and you had a black male.
Yeah.
That's integration when you look at television in the 70s, because you covered all the genres right there.
Yeah.
She went on, Charlton, to marry the great composer, singer, songwriter Quincy Jones. They had 4 children, Charlton. She passed over the weekend, Charlton. She had battled with cancer. But when you think about the contribution of those two women, Charlton, into mainstream society and what they put into the homes of millions of Americans over the years to help them understand the difference in life, especially with Peggy Lifton, who helped America see that you can have an integrated role in a television series in the 70s.
I think that's very well said, Big C. So our thoughts and prayers go out with those families and the passing of those two great Americans, and just wish them and their families to just take solace in the great things that have happened in their lives. I want to also touch on the University of Oklahoma, their women's softball team. In back-to-back Lady World Series, they won 39 consecutive games. That's an NCAA record. People think about Oklahoma as a football power, and they are. But on the ladies' side, Big C, they are very successful also. Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, if you watch these girls swing the bat, young ladies.
The young ladies.
Swing the bat. Because I don't want nobody coming
at me. I'm swinging at you.
They are a ferocious team, Charlton. I mean, when you talk about a team of aggression, the young ladies at the University of Oklahoma, they go out and they're just a dominant force at both sides of the plate, Charlton. In the infield, at the plate, swinging the bat. And they go out and they intimidate their opponents. I mean, you win 39 consecutive games in badminton, in tennis, anything, jacks,
anything.
You've done a hell of a feat, but in a team sport, you think about it, the University of Oklahoma has the longest winning streak in men's college football history. When they were coached by Bud Wilkinson, they had 58 consecutive games that they won. Now, the women's baseball team, Charlton, has the longest win streak in college baseball history at 39.
Wow. We talk about winning streaks, UCLA with 88 and so many teams that have had winning streaks over the years. And so congratulations to the Lady Sooners. I know they're really holding it down. And speaking of congratulations, let's go down to the high school level in Texas. Texas, of all places. Texas high school sprinter Matthew Boland set a high school record, the 100 at 9.98. He went out to anchor his team's 4x100 relay team, and they won the event. He came from 15 yards behind. He also won the long jump. That good old boy will be recruited by Texas University. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, he's already gotten away from Texas, Charlton. He's headed down to the University of Georgia. But you think about those doing the trifecta, and we haven't seen that since Carl Lewis.
No.
To go out and win those events, Charlton, the 100 meters, the 4x100 relay, and the long jump. And the cap about it, Charlton, he's a white boy.
Yeah.
He's white.
He's not Russian.
They say white man can't jump,
and he's not
long jump.
And he's not Russian either.
And I don't know if he was running from the police or something, but he outran all the brothers in the race.
He sure did. So everybody, it's all fair in love and war, and I just appreciate the fact that so many people, no matter what color you are, when Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, he's a Caucasian mainstream, but it's all about given the opportunity. And I love seeing when young players can just reach out and become that new version of whatever they want to be. Setting records is always important. I also want to touch on something. The former great president, Jimmy Carter, he's on the mend. He fell on his home in Georgia over the weekend. He fractured his hip. He is recovering at home after a successful hip surgery. I think one of America's greatest ambassadors of hope and love and faith for Jimmy Carter. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you talk about a man who's just been a great humanitarian, Charlton, since he's left the White House. Habitat for Humanity, out building homes with his wife, Rosalind Carter, Charlton, ever since his presidency. We think about what goes on in our Oval Office today and over the past 2 years in D.C. And then we think about the class and character of President Jimmy Carter. And here it is, this man's 94 years old, and he can't stop giving to others.
No.
He's never spoken an ill word of anybody out there, Charlton, since he's left the White House. Even while he was in the White House, Charlton, he's been an ambassador for America. He's what made America great, Charlton, when you think about a gentleman like that in the White House.
And I remember growing up as a young boy. Now, being a Southerner, not me, but Jimmy Carter coming from the South, me being a West Coast boy all my life, you can feel discrimination. But I met so many decent white people who were great to me, but in society, you would think they weren't because TV didn't show that part as much. But there are a lot of good people of all faiths, all colors, And I know that as part of Big C Sports, we recognize that. And Jimmy Carter, I can say as a black man, very proud that could call him president, and we wish him a speedy recovery. I also want to think about some things that are going on in the world. I know you talk about ice, and I'm sure Jimmy Carter, he may have had his own, favorite drink that he put a little ice in. Big C, I don't want to say what it is, but ice water. Okay, that's what he get down with the Georgia boys. But on ice, you look at the NHL, the Boston Bruins, they take a commanding 2-0 lead over the Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's amazing how that city of Boston, and I know they use ice for a lot of things too, Big C. I'm sure it's not iced tea, Big C. But give me your thoughts on the Bruins, and they look like they're chasing that same cup that Ovechkin slobbered all over with last year, Big C. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you shuck oysters on ice back in Boston, Charlton.
Yeah.
So they use a lot of ice back there. But you think about the Bruins' commanding performance in Game 2 of that series. They scored 2 goals in every period, Charlton. Opening period, the second period, and the third period. They went on to dominate the Carolina Hurricanes, who just had no answer. They even pulled their goalie at the second intermission, Charlton, and they didn't do any better with the backup goalie in the game.
Yeah.
But the Boston Bruins are a team on the mission. You think about 49 years ago with the great Bobby Orr steering them to the Stanley Cup.
Yep.
They seem to be on the path to do that, Charlton, 49 years later.
Well, I wish them the best. I know people may get tired of Boston winning everything, but sometimes you have the good crap meat, which used to be a poor man's food. Now you got to pay an arm and a leg for it. If you swing to the West Coast, or we call it escape to the West Coast, but there's not a lot of ice in California. But there are some sharks around the Golden Gate Bridge, Big C, but that's not where the San Jose Sharks play. They play down at the South Bay, and I don't think there's any sharks in the water down there. But they will host the St. Louis Blues tonight, and it's going to be Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. And they're up 1-0 over St. Louis. And this team, prop bet aside and power plays aside, they look like they're going to end up playing for Lloyd Stanley Cup and have a chance to win their first Stanley Cup, Big C. Give me your feeling on how well San Jose is playing against some good old boys from St. Louis.
Well, they were dominated, Charlton, against St. Louis. They had St. Louis literally singing the blues after Game 1.
On ice.
After that 5-1 drubbing that they gave out. I mean, they did a little bourbon and branch at that time. But
they drink bourbon in St. Louis.
The Sharks got to this point with a couple of controversial series, Charlton, getting here to the Western Conference Final. But they didn't need the officials to help them in Game 1 as they dominated the St. Louis Blues.
No, they didn't. I mean, I'm impressed with the whole Bay Area. It seems like everybody's getting a new stadium, new arena, and I know they've had theirs for several years now. But nothing but the best for Bay Area teams. As we swing the ball back to the East Coast, Southeast, there's not a lot of ice in Florida. But if you look at one of the best football minds, at least football owners in the universe, Bob Kraft, he has some great lawyers, too. They said money can't buy me love. I think some good old boys seen that back in the day. But it can buy you good representation. A judge in Palm Beach County ruled today that video evidence against the estimable Bob Kraft will be suppressed, which means that he will not be found guilty of anything. Now, that means that what the videotape saw, it really didn't see. Big C, that make any sense?
Well, Charlton, this is the white skin privilege, wealthy lawyer mentality that you deal with in society.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor said it best back in the 70s. A good lawyer will keep your
blankety blank,
out of jail.
Yep, blankety blank blank. Yeah.
But he will keep you broke. Robert's not going to be broke. He's a billionaire.
No.
But when you can have your lawyers go in and argue for 3 days to have the videotape evidence for the reason why you were arrested, sequestered, and not be entered into evidence.
Yeah.
What is the reason for a trial?
So the rest
not
never
only
happened.
that, Charlton, they can't show the dash cam of him being pulled over and cited, getting cited.
Right.
So there's nothing that you can show against Robert Kraft in this case. Now, I don't know if this judge is a Republican or a Democrat, or if he has ties and he got season tickets now,
or a bank account.
Luxury suite at the Met Stadium.
Bigger
I'm
bank
not
account.
sure.
Right.
But money can't buy me love, but money can buy me justice.
Yeah.
That's what Robert Kraft said, because the money that he spent got him in trouble.
Well, I will just.
But here it is. You have to ask yourself, as a layman person in society, and regardless of the ethnicity that you are, if you've ever been stopped by a police officer on a traffic incident and you had to go to court, and that officer shows up, you are automatically guilty because the judge is going to side with that officer of the law, of the court, because they were doing their due diligence in writing you a citation for doing something wrong. Robert Kraft has persuaded this judge to say he was doing nothing wrong when he was paying for prostitution.
Yeah.
He was doing nothing wrong when he was speeding away from the facility, trying to catch his private plane, and he was pulled over for that.
Yeah.
So all of these things, as a person in society, as an American citizen, regardless of your ethnicity, ask yourself, have you ever been pulled over and you've been able to go to court and say, I want the evidence sequestered?
Throw it out.
Because I think that my rights were violated because I wasn't given a chance to slow down before he turned on his lights.
Yeah, it's a shame for the women who are going through being sex trafficked and the ones who are going to law enforcement. And everybody says, even we say, call 911 if anything goes on. And you just know that, again, is if you have a Caucasian man that has money, chances are you're not going to win, but you got to go forward anyway. It's a shame because a lot of those girls are still suffering, and people are they're going to turn the page on it as they've done so many other things. I want to touch on something in the world of basketball, Big C. John Beelan, he leaves the University of Michigan, took the head coaching job with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Dan Gilbert gave him 5 years, which is more than what they were going to give Tyronn Lue in L.A., who has won a championship. But it is Cleveland. I don't think it makes a difference. They don't have LeBron James again. Your thoughts?
Well, I love what Dan Gilbert said. He said he needed somebody to change the culture in Cleveland. So he's bringing in Beeline,
right.
who has never coached in the NBA, never coached professional basketball. He's 66 years old.
Yeah.
He's been dealing with college kids, okay, guys that you can snatch a scholarship away from
take it.
if they get out of line.
Yeah.
Now he has to go to the NBA. Think about it. He's 66 years old.
Yeah.
So he's detached from the mentality of a professional basketball player. People can say, well, the team is young.
Yeah.
No, but they're millionaires.
Yeah.
They make more money than him. They're not scared. It's not like college. Yes, you made it to the Final Four a couple times at the University of Michigan in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Great. But now you got to play that schedule, that Final Four schedule, every night in the NBA.
Yeah.
Okay? Every night. You don't get, a 16 seed. You get an NBA team.
Yeah.
Every night. And you're one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
So you're looking up at everybody. But look at this. Beeline's 66 years old. He gets a 5-year contract.
Yeah.
All he was looking at was a nest egg for retirement. That's all he was looking at in this scenario.
Well, he
But
got it.
Dan Gilbert gave him 5 years. Never coached an NBA team. Tyronn Lue did not have the respect of the NBA and the Lakers family.
Nope.
That they only said he was worth 3 years. And even the coach the Lakers just hired only got a 3-year contract. Oh, he got a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
So when you think about how the NBA values coaches with experience, and especially coaches with championship pedigree, this is why they've had one of the worst records in the NBA over the last 6 years.
Yeah, I know the Gilbert family owns Quicken Loans, and they're the largest lender in the United States of America. So he's a multi-billionaire, but it doesn't mean he has a lot of knowledge with basketball. He knew how to get LeBron James in there, which made him look very, very smart. But we'll see what happens with them. BC, I want to look at what happened in the world of the NBA in the playoffs in our final segment here. If you don't like NBA basketball, you just got to watch more of it. Especially our friends across the border. Oh, Canada, our home and native land. They've made it very difficult for Kawhi Leonard to leave. Jurassic Park is amazing. I don't know any environment in the United States that has that many people outside of an arena to watch a game unless they've already won a championship and then they're waiting for the parade. NBA playoffs, Kawhi Leonard hits the game-winning shot over Joel Embiid. And the winning shot was heard all over Canada, Big C. It was like a gunshot that went off all over Canada. And Toronto beat Philadelphia at 92-90 to win the series 4-3. It left Joel Embiid doing the Rocky scene. Adrian! And I'm telling you, Kawhi Leonard, I don't think anyone's performed like him since Kareem and also Wilt Chamberlain when it comes to playing in the playoff series so far. Give me your feeling. That was a lucky bounce if you ever call it a lucky bounce, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I think it might still be bouncing. I know it hit the rim at least 4 times.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's still, clanging up there. I mean, it stopped a lot of heartbeats
Yeah.
the other night up in Toronto. But what a fantastic game, Charlton. When you think about Toronto had just blown them out, and then Philly clawed back
Yeah.
to get into the game.
Yeah.
But not Joel, but Kawhi, we've seen Kawhi on this stage before when he was with San Antonio.
Yeah.
He was that type of dominant player before when he played in the NBA. This is not nothing new for him.
No.
He's been a finals MVP. So he's playing in his house, his domain.
Yeah.
And you say, well, it might be hard for him to leave. Well, he left San Antonio and he won an NBA title and a championship MVP.
Yeah.
So, Kawhi beats to his own drum. What bothers the media about Kawhi is Kawhi doesn't talk to him.
He's quiet.
He doesn't create a story for him.
Yeah.
So they're always digging. And it's always the next story about Kawhi. Well, sources says sources. There's no damn sources. Kawhi don't even talk.
Right.
He don't even talk to his teammates.
No, he didn't talk
So,
about it at all.
when they say that Kawhi, is unhappy, Kawhi has a $13.5 million house in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a $13 million house in Toronto. Okay?
Not yet.
Kawhi says, I want to be in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That's where Kawhi wants to be. The thing that people, just like us in the media,
Yeah.
you have to stop thinking that you're thinking for a rich professional athlete.
Yeah.
That you're dictating his mindset because you talk about it on your show.
Yeah.
Day in and day out. Well, this is what they should do. This is what they're going to do. Until that athlete steps up and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. It's mom's the word. I've always thought that they were prescient and intelligent enough to speak for themselves.
Yeah.
They interview him on the sideline. Kawhi might say 8 words to you.
Yeah.
In a 10-minute segment. Okay.
Yeah.
He's not told anybody. The last thing that Kawhi told people, I'm not playing in San Antonio.
Right.
Period. That's the last. That's as stern as Kawhi has ever been. I'm not playing in San Antonio.
Yeah.
So since then, there's been 93 stories about where Kawhi is going to play. And it ain't but 30 teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
But there's 93 different destinations.
Yeah.
So until Kawhi Leonard tells me where he's going to play, when this series or the next series is over, the NBA Finals,
Yeah.
I'll listen to what Kawhi say. I'm not worried about what my brother and the media says because they're all speculating.
Yeah, a lot
they
of people.
all want to have a shot of moonshine. I'm not passing it out for free.
No, they all cover whoever they're going to cover. They'll cover everybody. Say, we told them that. But I want to get your feeling also, Mile High. I'm sure there's a lot of smoke in Denver today. People kind of upset about what happened yesterday. Portland from the great Northwest went into Denver, Mile High, and they did what a lot of people thought they could not do. But I think if people can Google over the past, it was Big C Sports, and we can all say, Google it, but we'll say Google it. We were talking about the Golden State Warriors and the Portland Trail Blazers being the teams that will play in the Western Conference Finals. I know that was my own statement, Big C, going into the playoffs, and I thought that with Damian Lillard and McCollum and then Curry, I thought that they had as good a shot at beating anybody. So they go up to Denver, and Jokic was America's great white hope for the NBA basketball. I know media wanted to have the big, tall, white guy and frame it around him being the new NBA. And there's nothing wrong with that because you're searching for something that you don't have. He was like Jerry Clooney and Muhammad Ali. But he's good. But they still in over his head, I think. But give me your feeling on how they went down at home. I thought they played a little bit tight. And there's something about McCullough who was given the chance to be the secondary guy on the team. It wasn't Damian Lillard who brought it home for Portland. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Denver just let this one get away. I mean, you're up by 17 points in the first half, and you stop playing basketball.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened. They had Portland on the ropes. Portland just they came up there to lose.
Yeah.
But after a while, they said, well, they really don't want to put us away.
Right.
So let's just play basketball.
Right.
And so Portland got aggressive, Charlton. I also fault the coach of Denver. When you got Portland on these 8 10-point runs, Charlton,
yeah.
you don't
call
timeout.
Prop betting. Call a timeout, coach.
I'm looking at this. You call time. When they scored 6 points, I'm calling timeout.
Timeout.
When the game is over,
right.
Those timeouts do you nothing when your season is over.
No, he's going to use them for next year.
I fault the coach more than I fault the players from Denver.
Yeah.
Because he never took the time to stem the tide, Charlton.
He was
at any point when Portland was making a run. When Portland was down by 10, next thing you know, they're down by 2. He didn't even call a timeout. He did not call a timeout until Portland took the lead.
Yeah.
So I fault the coach in this. I think about the vitriol if this had been an African-American coach on the sideline.
Yeah.
They'd have been calling for his head. That he would have been gone.
Yeah.
You got the second best team in the West.
Yep.
You can't call a timeout to stem the tide of an opponent who has a hot hand. If you got to call 2 timeouts in 2 minutes, you call them.
Call them.
That's what you do. You call them. You play the game without timeouts.
Yeah.
But don't trust yourself to say, wait, I'm gonna give them the lead. Then I'm gonna call a timeout and now motivate my team. Well, the team, you've lost the team at that point.
Yeah. Well, everybody knows it's all fair and level war, and prop betting exists. So when a team can come from 17 down, you just, wake up, America. It makes the game fun. I want to go down south in Houston, where I want to just say that Big C Sports, and you can go back and see it. Big C told you how Golden State would win. And he said that they were 26-1 without Durant in the lineup. You didn't hear that from anybody else on any sports show in the universe. Google it. We asked you to Google it. We were saying that it's going to become a 3-point game. And the over-under went to 212 when Golden State and Houston just played a 203 game in Oakland with Durant, who went out in the third quarter with 2 minutes left. So how do you lose the best player in the game in Kevin Durant, and your over-under goes to 212 out of Las Vegas? And Big C called it. He said they're going to shoot 3-pointers to win the game. They're going to stop trying to pound the ball inside and play one man the way Houston does. And you called it right, Big C. I'm not saying we're any better than anybody else, but unlike the Bob Kraft thing, this was on tape. They can't say they don't see it, Big C. Give me your feelings on what's going to happen to them good old boys down in Texas, where the owner even walks off the floor before the game was over. Now, if that were LeBron James, they'd say, I can't believe he left the floor before the game was over. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's amazing that when a black athlete walks off the court, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, when the game is done, the backlash he gets from the media. They want to attack a black athlete when they know that the game is over. There's nothing else for me to stand here.
That's
for.
what the owner did.
The owner walks away. But like I said, the owner can write the check.
Yeah.
He's writing the check.
Yeah.
But when I look at how that game played out, Charlton, it's that Chris Paul was Chris Paul in that game.
Yeah.
Is that you can't count on him when the game is on the line.
No,
when a series is on the line.
Yeah.
He's flopping, he's crying to the officials. He's not concentrating on basketball. He's taking the game away from his players.
Yeah.
And the bench did not deliver for Houston in this game.
No.
I think that Paul wanted to be the guy who got them to Game 7. James Harden is going to get his points regardless.
Yeah.
He is just a tremendous player. But I also think if James Harden was right-handed, he'd probably only score 8 to 10 points a game.
Yeah.
But because he has this unorthodox left-handed shot, and he can get it off from anywhere on the floor. And if you ever stand next to James Harden, you look at him and say, he can't play basketball.
Right.
He got a bad body. All of those things.
Yeah.
He got too much facial hair.
And my mother likes his hair. My mother says he has a good-looking beard. I said, Mom, are you serious? She said, yeah, it looks good. I said, okay, Mama, you can't argue with the mama, Big C.
But, here's Golden State.
Yeah.
And all our media brethren out there was writing their obituary, when Kevin Durant went down.
Especially the
saying
mothership.
That Golden State was a one-dimensional team.
Handle your business, right? I'm saying handle your business. Okay, go ahead, Big C.
that only Kevin Durant could lift them into the finals.
Right.
No, Charlton, they've been there without Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, it's like when you go to dinner.
Yeah.
And you get dessert. That's what Kevin Durant has been for the Golden State Warriors. He's been dessert.
Dessert.
They already had a salad.
Yeah.
They had an appetizer. They had a main course. Kevin Durant just happened to come in and be the dessert.
Yeah.
The sweetener on top.
Yeah.
That's what he was for this organization. Because you're going to tell me that the Splash Brothers stopped being the Splash Brothers. What they did, Charlton, was the same thing that Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh did when LeBron James came to Miami.
They kept playing.
We are all-stars.
Yeah.
But we are all-stars who want to do the same thing, win a championship. And to win a championship, you have to have one guy play lead. I know you've heard about the Temptations.
Yeah.
They always had a lead singer.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Gladys Knight was the lead singer for the Pips, all right?
Yeah.
That's what Kevin Durant became when he went to Golden State. You had all-stars that said, hey, we're okay.
Yeah.
We got jewelry. We got MVPs.
You know what?
You don't have nothing.
We're
going to see what you can do.
Right. What I saw at Big C, and I want your thoughts, and we talked about it all the time, the flopping that's really bad for the league. And I ask any athlete that's ever shot a basketball, whether you're at AAU whether you're high school, college, or pro, if when you're practicing your jump shots, are you practicing falling down? The answer is no. And I look at Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. They never practice this shot and fall down at the same time. That's not part of their thing. And Chris Paul, as great as he's been, he and Harden, their problem is they practice falling down so much because they think officials are stupid. And sometimes it works. But in tighter games where everybody's scrutinized, they can't call that garbage. So their rhythm is even off. Instead of looking for the rebound, they're looking to say, ref, did you see I got fouled in the arm? And somebody runs by them, gets a layup. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they've done that so much throughout the regular season. But when it comes down to the playoffs, you have to call the game to the best. You have all the eyes on you as an official.
Yeah.
You're being scrutinized by the country.
Yeah.
And they made all these games prime time between Houston and Golden State.
Yep.
This was the pseudo NBA title series, as everybody was saying. Everything else would be anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to see these two titans clash. And they did.
Yeah.
The thing, as I was saying earlier, is that you have two guys in Golden State that can average 30 points a game in the backcourt.
Yeah.
They can get their shots off against anybody. You have the great role players, but once again, no one gives credit to Draymond Green.
He's amazing.
Draymond Green has been the MVP of this Warriors playoff run. He doesn't get the media hype of Durant, of Curry, of Thompson.
Right.
But when you look at the box score, you see the numbers that Draymond Green has. But that's not the total story. It's what he does defensively and motivationally to his teammates.
Yeah.
Every professional team has a guy like a Draymond Green, whether it's baseball, basketball, football,
Yeah.
track and field, soccer, hockey. Everybody has a Draymond Green. That his numbers are not relevant in the box score, but what he means to an organization. You think about it. In the last 4 years, Golden State has been to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Searching a fifth. The one that they did not win, who was not there and suspended?
Draymond Green. Yeah. Yeah.
Draymond Green.
Yeah.
All these other guys have been there. Draymond Green, when he didn't make it through a series, they didn't win a championship.
Yep.
And he's been that imperative, Charlton, throughout the run this year, last year, and every year that they've been in. It's been Draymond Green. He'll never get the hype from the media, but at the end of the day, you always got to consider him. He might not be the most valuable player in the series,
Yeah.
but he's the most valuable player on that team.
Big C, last 2 minutes, we have Eastern Conference Finals. We have Milwaukee and Toronto, and Milwaukee has a home court advantage. In the Western Conference Finals, we have the Golden State Warriors and the Portland Trailblazers, the 1 versus 3 seed. In the next minute and a half, give me your feelings on Eastern Conference, Western Conference. What are you looking for?
Well, Charlton, when I look at Toronto and Milwaukee, you think about it. You got Leonard,
Yeah.
averaging 30 points a game. You got Giannis averaging 31 points a game. Charlton, this is the first time in several decades that we've seen two players going in averaging 30-plus points a game in an Eastern Conference or Western Conference final.
They're amazing.
These two guys will dictate the floor of the game. Kawhi Leonard, what Toronto has done for him is allow him to be the leader, the pseudo-factor leader of that team, because all the other pieces were in place last year. They didn't have an alpha male in the lineup that they say, hey, just give him the ball. We will feed off of him.
Right.
That's what you got. Giannis is the complete opposite. Everybody looks at Giannis as the go-to guy in Milwaukee. Giannis is just as happy letting his teammates carry the mantra in Milwaukee as it is whether he's the top dog or not.
Yeah. Give me your feeling, Golden State. If you look at Golden State and Portland, I think the happiest family might be the Curry family. They don't have to buy so many airline tickets because they're just going to, wherever they go, they're going to get treated very nice by the fans because they got a son on both teams. What about the tension at that dinner table for the holidays? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they did a commercial a couple of years ago where the dad was fighting over his chair and a bowl of popcorn.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to be. But, regardless, this Curry family will be in the NBA Finals, regardless of how you look at it.
Yeah.
But this series, the Western Conference Final, will be an epic backcourt battle.
Yeah.
When you're looking at two backcourts that can average 60 points a game in this series, that's going to be the difference. Where are you going to get the fiduciary points at from your front court? That's what you're looking at. Who's going to expand in the front court for either one of these teams and make a difference? You're going to have somebody get a couple 20-point games, Charlton, to make a difference in this series in the front court.
Well, I know we love everything in the sports universe, and as far as Big C Sports, you can find us on the iHeartRadio network. You can find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, also Comcast Xfinity. And I know for everybody that wants to just see sports, and I heard Kingsbury tell that Murray was a natural-born athlete. Well, hopefully the coach for the Arizona Cardinals, Google, Madam C.J. Walker, one of America's first black billionaires. She didn't play football, but she did get her thing done right, Big C, back in the day. There was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Also, what I want to look forward to in the sports universe is something I look forward to getting to Mother's Day last week. My mother had a battle in the hospital last week, and I want to give a shout-out to Mom for that, Charlton, because, you know, when I think about the battle that she has fought over the years and how she's been able to stay strong and pull through it, any athlete would be proud to have the endurance that she has had, Charlton. She was able to get out of the hospital and make it home the day before Mother's Day, which made the whole family happy. And I'm proud of her. I mean, the greatest champion in my life, Charles.
Well, I tell you, everybody goes through something, and for all the mothers who've gone through something, we wish you nothing but the best on Big C Sports. You can find out every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.